and I found the most amazing, kind, wonderful family. And they're going to care. I rented the house out for a year. They'll care for that house for a year. They take care of the utilities, the pool costs, the electric bill, the heating oil bill, all of that. And the rent they pay me is terrific. And I'm actually here in Portugal right now. And we'll be traveling through Europe for the summer, Latin and South America starting in the fall and the winter. And basically, my cost of living is right around zero right now.
You're listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, where you get valuable information you just can't find anywhere else. To thrive in today's trying times, you need the Financial Survival Network, now more than ever. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and get your free newsletter and gift. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.
And welcome. You are listening to and watching the Financial Survival Network. I'm your host, Kerry Lutz. Hey, it's 6/6/25. I stopped giving dates a long time ago because certain things are evergreen. And when you give a date, it makes you think that basically it has a shelf life. Well, what you're about to hear is something I am going to do. It is the ultimate house hack. And they call them stack houses, all these other things. Gary Brode's with me. Gary, you have decades of financial experience. Your website, deepknowledgeinvesting.com. I love your headline. The one thing we never hedge is our opinion, which means you are a truth teller, and we don't have enough of you. Arbitraging your house. Now, I've been thinking about this very subject, but couldn't really figure out how to do it. But you have found a way to do it. First, tell us what arbitraging your house is, how you can do it, and what kind of returns you can get.
Terrific, Kerry. Thanks so much for having me. So all of this started about 10 years ago. I was living in Manhattan, had a great apartment there, and just sort of had enough of living in the city. Sold at the high in New York and bought a terrific home in Westport, Connecticut when property prices there were distressed. I refinanced the house in late 2021, just before interest rates started to go up. Like you, I'm a finance guy and was watching that market. And so basically what I had was a really large, really valuable house. And property prices, of course, went up a huge amount during COVID and have continued to go up in the last few years. But because I bought well and financed it well, I had relatively low expenses. But it was more house than any one person needed. It was much too large for my needs. And also I was spending way too much time caring for it. A lot of my weekends were spent cutting the grass and edging and trimming bushes and getting up on a ladder and cleaning gutters. And, it's not bad work, but it wasn't fun. And so I decided that what I wanted to do was rent it out. And I found the most amazing, kind, wonderful family, and they're going to care. I rented the house out for a year. They'll care for that house for a year. They take care of the utilities, the pool costs, the electric bill, the heating oil bill, all of that. And the rent they pay me is terrific. And I'm actually here in Portugal right now, and we'll be traveling through Europe for the summer, Latin and South America starting in the fall and the winter. And basically, my cost of living is right around zero right now, and I don't have to cut the grass.
Wow. And they're doing all the maintenance and everything. I guess if there's a major repair over $100, you got to pay for it, but less than that, they pay for it. Is that how this is working?
Yeah, that's exactly it. So, if it's a little minor thing, these are terrific people with, they're financially secure. They're not going to call me about a $50 something or other. Obviously, if there were to be a major problem, like if an appliance were to fail, that's not their fault. And, that's the kind of thing that I could call Best Buy or PC Richards or somebody from here and, have that appliance put in. I can manage all of that from here, but that wouldn't be an expense that I would expect them to pay.
Right. All right. How long you been doing this?
So just a month. I was officially homeless starting May 1st, but I'm homeless with other people's money, which is the happy kind of homeless. And I spent the whole first month traveling around the US, seeing people who I really care about and love, but There were people who I hadn't seen in a couple of years. And I think it's really important. I spend all day thinking about investing in the stock market and how to make more money, but it's also really important to invest in relationships. And so, I traveled around and saw people that I cared about, and I saw clients in person who I talked to regularly, but had never met face to face. And it was terrific. And then at the end of May, I got on a plane. I flew here to Lisbon. I've been here for a week. And Kerry, I did something that I have never done at any point before. When I came to Lisbon, I had a one-way plane ticket. People keep asking me how long I'm going to be here. And my answer is, I don't know. We'll see. And after a week, I'm starting to think I might want to stay longer. And the beauty is I don't have to restructure anything. I don't need a different plane ticket. I can just call my Airbnb host and say, hey, I really like it here. Any chance you guys would consider having me for another week, another month, whatever feels right at the time.
Mm-hmm. All right. So I find it really fascinating here. And so basically you're traveling around Europe for virtually nothing, right?
Yeah, I took a look, and I know, if I spend a certain amount per month, which is more than I need to live happily and comfortably, my cost of living is zero. But, think about it this way. If I go over by $1,000 a month at the end of the year, it will have cost me $12,000 to live in half a dozen different countries and have the adventure of a lifetime.
Well, I'm envious here, man. Like, I am serious. I'm going to do it. Just figuring out the logistics. How do you find a high quality tenant here that isn't going to turn your house into a party scene every Saturday night?
So part of it was a little bit of luck and obviously some good screening. And I have a real estate agent, Pac Shea, who I actually love and trust. I have a great relationship with Pac. She was the one who helped me buy my house, and she's somebody I trust. And it took her, I think, all of 6 days to find me the right people. And I don't want to give names to violate their privacy, but when this couple was walking through the house with me, they're the same age as me, and they were just fun and interesting. We were sharing stories. Clearly we got along. And then, near the end, we walked into the downstairs study. My office is upstairs, but there's a second office on the first floor. And they said, hey, any chance we could turn this into a bedroom? And I said, of course you could. It would be very easy. May I ask why? Mm-hmm. And their answer was, well, we need a room for our live-in maid. I said, you have a live-in maid? They said, yeah. And at that point, any concerns that the house wasn't going to be cared for was instantly gone. And I thought, my God, I want these people. I don't want to rent to anyone else. I want them. And throughout the whole process, they were fun, easy to deal with, easy to negotiate with. We were all kind and accommodating with each other. We didn't really negotiate hard with each other on either side. And they're just really terrific people.
That's so good. And so you're going to do this again next year?
It's really interesting. As this couple was walking through the house, they said, we really want a 2-year lease. And my response was, you know what? As of today, I'm happy to commit to 1 year, but everything's negotiable. Let's talk. Why don't we see how you like living here? And why don't we see how I like living everywhere else? And, we'll get together in 4 months, 6 months, 8 months, whatever it is. And we'll talk and figure out what makes sense. But if they want to stay and I'm enjoying it here, I definitely would. Kerry, one thing I think is really worth relaying is the emotional side of it. I thought it'd be really hard. It can be scary to give up your home, your possessions, to basically look at a bag and say, this is what I have for a year. And when I did the deal, I expected to feel anxious, worried, upset, concerned about my stuff. And instead, I felt happy and light. And it's really interesting for me because as somebody I've spent my whole career focusing on how do I make more money? How do I get more? And our possessions can weigh us down. And there was something really free about just letting go of everything and saying, it'll all be fine. This will all be fine without me. And I don't need so much. And I'm living in comfortable places. They're just smaller. And it's really been amazing to let go. It's made me feel more free.
Hey, man, I love it, man. This is such a great story here. And so if somebody wants to follow your example, is there a way to do it logically? What's the first step?
So I think the first step is, first of all, figure out yourself. What kind of life do you want to have? Where do you want to live? And then look at the finances of it, right? Like, for example, if you live in a part of the world where rental prices are very low and you want to go live in like Monaco or Berlin or other places, or in London, places that are really expensive, that may be hard. In my case, I was coming from a place where property values are very high. And I wanted to come to Portugal where life isn't, what's that?
Northeast, forget about it. It's insane there.
Yeah.
I lived not too far from you in Westchester County, and we had the privilege of paying the highest property taxes in these here United States.
Yeah, exactly. And so, it works if there's an arbitrage. If the place you want to live or go, or in my case, travel, is less expensive than the place that you're renting out, you have more flexibility. Part of it also is you have to figure out, do you want to rent furnished or unfurnished? In my case, I really didn't want to have to pack up my whole house. And part of my deal was I'm renting furnished. If anyone wanted the place unfurnished, I told them they could pay to pack up all my stuff and store it and put it back. Nobody wants to do that. And packing is a pain in the butt. Now, obviously, I got my personal stuff out of the way. People aren't living with my stuff in the closet. But I just negotiated with people and said, listen, I'm going to take one closet to put boxes in. I'm going to put some stuff in the garage, and I wanted one bay in the garage for my car. And they were kind enough to say, sure, that works for us. And they took the place furnished. And because of the kind of people I'm renting to, I'm really not worried that I'm going to come home to a destroyed couch. And, I think you were the one who asked me, what if they break something? And the truth is, yeah, they might drop a dish and break it. And one, it'll all be fine. And two, if I were at home, maybe I'd drop a dish and break it.
Yeah, you never know. Never know. So you lock up your really precious things in a storage unit?
Yeah. I have safes in the house. I had other places where I could put things. The truth is, other than, some watches and, some sentimental jewelry for my grandparents, I don't necessarily have a lot of, high dollar value possessions. Nobody's going to steal the TV. It's not worth that much anyway. And I'm just, like I said, I got lucky enough to find people where I felt light and easy and like I could let go and just not worry about it so much. But listen, if for the people listening to this, if this is something you want to do and you really are worried about stuff like that, then that's okay. You can pack up your stuff and store it, and it'll cost you something and eat your margins a little, but there's nothing wrong with doing that. A lot of people prefer to rent unfurnished anyway, and it may give you the choice of, or a larger choice of the potential renters.
Yeah. All right. And so you have to plan it out. You can't just say one day I'm going to do this, and then you do it. It doesn't work that way, right? But what kind of, if you pay like virtually nothing for your house, I mean, it's the ideal. It's kind of like you're taking on debt and then you're letting your tenant pay your mortgage for you effectively and your taxes. And if you pay 80% of it, you're that much further ahead and you got to do it you got to do what you really wanted to do, right? It's an amazing thing. I mean, I love it.
That's exactly right. So when I did the math on this, I said, okay, monthly rent is X. From that, let's subtract income taxes because you have to pay taxes on the rental income. And then we subtract property taxes and my home insurance and a reasonable estimate of what maintenance will be for the year. Like you said, hey, if an appliance breaks, who's that on? Of course, there's the mortgage, and then local property taxes, which are maybe a little bit lower in Westport than when you were in Westchester, but they're not free. And so I did the math on all of that and said, wait a minute, even when I subtract all of these things, so all of these expenses will be paid for by my tenant, and that leaves me money left over to live on and enjoy. And so that part has really been fun. The other thing too is, my home in Westport it's large. And so the electric bill is high and the heating oil bill is high. The pool costs are high. And all of a sudden, it's very nice to be able to pass those expenses on and have somebody else take care of it.
All right.
Right. It's not just income, it's a reduction of expenses.
Yeah. Which, that's one of the best ways of making money is saving money. Many of you don't realize it, but every dollar you save is a dollar that can be put elsewhere, whether it's retirement funds or whatever. And you can basically, if you feel like you want to travel 3 months of the year, you do it for 3 months, right?
That's exactly right. And, just as an example, I've had winter months where, if it gets really cold, my heating oil bill at times has been $1,500 per month. One time I had a $1,000 heating bill for 1 week. It was just freezing cold outside and the boiler was running constantly. To not have those expenses ticking against me, right? To have somebody else taking care of that while I'm, here where it's 75 degrees and sunny and doesn't get dark till 9:30 at night has really been amazing. The other thing that's worked for me is, and I've had a lot of practice at this, when I set up Deep Knowledge Investing, I decided I never wanted to have an office. I set up the firm so I could work from anywhere, and regularly over the last 5 years, have traveled. I go away for a month or two at a time. I live in different countries. That's been amazing. And what I found is that I am not only as effective, I'm actually more effective when I'm on the road. Something about the excitement and friction and different experiences I have sparks some creativity in me. And I write more, I think more, I see things differently. And so, when I've been away, I've actually done more and better work than when I was at home.
Amazing. And you're happier, right? You're away from the rat race.
Yeah, just as an example, I've gone out every night this week. Remember here, the market doesn't open till 2:30. It doesn't close until 9:00, which is a really normal time in Lisbon to go out for dinner. Yesterday, I was at a co-working event. Tonight, I'm going to a social event. 2 nights ago, there was a digital marketing event. The night before, there was an event for expats to play board games. There are just constantly things going on. And here's one thing that's just completely different. Walking around Lisbon, I'm walking up and down these hills for a mile or two every day. I'm healthier and living better and enjoying it.
Hey, I got to tell you, funny story. I took May off. I should say April, the month of April. I went to Spain, went to Thailand, came back, hung out in Spain for a few days. And of course, that was when we had the blackout, which you guys had also. And unlike in New York, where everything hits the fan, God forbid you don't have lights on. I mean, life can't go on. Well, I was fortunate. My hotel had a backup generator, but I walked that day 25,000 steps. Gary, when I got home, I had lost 4 pounds on a vacation. How does that happen, huh?
Yeah, that is amazing. And obviously, in a place like this, European food, the portions are a little bit smaller. I've lost weight as well. And one of my favorite things to do, a lot of times people like to stay, wherever it's closest to the center of town. I'll often stay a mile out. You can get a nicer place. Yeah, with a little more distance. Yeah, but here's the beauty of it. You want to go to breakfast? Mile there, mile back. You want to go to dinner? Mile there, mile back. You have to walk 2 miles. Rather, you get to walk 2 miles just to go have a meal. And that is terrific. And on Sunday, I'm supposed to meet somebody for a river cruise down at the river. That's a 30-minute walk from here to get down to the pier. And it's going to be a 30-minute walk up hills on the way back.
Wow. I love it, man. I'm coming back as Gary Brode in my next life.
It's a pretty good life. And interesting that you mentioned Thailand. I have been there several times since I started Deep Knowledge Investing. A couple of years ago, I went there for a month and just loved living there. It was terrific. And then earlier this year, I took a 2-month trip through Thailand, Vietnam, and Korea. And it was just great to go back and you meet people and visit some of the same people in some of the same places.
All right, man. Hey, so this is just one example of all the hacks you have created, finance hacks, ways to save money, ways to make money in the market and elsewhere. just tell us, where do we find you? How do we connect with you on the web?
Thanks, Kerry. Best place to go is deepknowledgeinvesting.com. If any of you want to reach out to me, either ir@deepknowledgeinvesting.com. I read everything that comes to that email and respond. Or if you go to the website, deepknowledgeinvesting.com, there's an Ask Gary button. Just click that and type in whatever you want to know. I get those messages, respond to them. And then on social media, I spend most of my time on X. That's Gary_Brode, Brode.
All right. Excellent, Gary. Really appreciate you coming on. The link will be in the show notes of this interview on financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Urge all of you to go over there. Don't forget the book, The World According to Martin Armstrong, Conversations with the Master Forecaster, is for sale. You'll find a link in the show notes, and you can always just go to Amazon and put in World According to Martin Armstrong. Sold over 1,500 copies in just over 3 weeks. Really happy with the sales, and they continue coming in one after the other. Gary, it's great to have you on. We will talk to you again soon. Thanks.
Thanks for having me, Kerry, and congratulations on the book.
Thanks for listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, your solution to today's trying times. For the latest, go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.